I hope everybody's doing well, you know. So, spring is almost here. We're about to set our clocks forward, right? Lose an hour of sleep, gain an hour of the day, right? Which is great, right? Which means the sun's going to be coming out, more UV rays, right? And, today is exactly 1 year, right, that we started the 2 weeks to the lockdown to flatten the curve, right? The pandemic, right, of this COVID. Wuhan Chinese virus. We still don't know exactly where it came from. We still really don't know how to fight it off or combat it. We don't know if these when it will just Joe Biden's like, I can't tell you an exact day when it will go away, even though I told you during the campaign, if you voted for me, I will combat the virus and kick his ass right away. Didn't he say that? I mean, just like he promised us right, if you voted for Warnoff and Ossoff, that you'll get $2,000 checks day one, right? 50 days in, he's just about to be signing this $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. That's a bunch of baloney, right? It's got pork up the wazoo, right? It is not a kosher bill at all, right? So, I mean, like 1% to 3%, people say, depending on what experts you ask, say that it actually goes to COVID relief. Fewer Americans are actually going to be getting stimulus direct payments to them than before. And if you remember, President Trump, during right before the election, wanted to give us all a bigger and better package, right? But Pelosi held it up for political reasons, and then right after the election says, yeah, I held it up, but now we have a new president, we can get a better deal. Well, it turns out she wasn't talking about a better deal for the constituents or the voters of the American people, but for a certain few, right? Like NASA, the endowments of the arts, the Kennedy Center, right? Bailouts for blue states like New York and California, Washington, stuff like that, right? For their bad decisions, but nobody ever knows because they always keep getting bailed out, right? Just like the airlines and Solyndra, and it continues, etc., right? All right. But they keep holding it hostage, just like the teachers' unions keep holding our children hostage as props, right? And they go, you got to pass all this stuff, even though we are going to put all this other bullshit that we know nobody would ever in a million, thousand, gajillion years ever go for in a normal circumstances, right? Rahm Emanuel, never let a good circumstance go to waste, or good crisis go to waste, right? And so this is what they do. And then they pull at your little heartstrings and stuff, right? As they're doing this insidious stuff, right? All along, knowing that they're going to stab us in the back, right? Smile in our face and stab you in the back, right? Almost like the smile now, cry later thing, right? That's why, folks, I'm trying to tell you, right? If you cower, you will be devoured. It's only a matter, right? If you appeasement only means you get eaten last, right? It doesn't mean you're saved forever. There's no real safe refuge, especially with the radical left movement and everything else that they're trying to do. This isn't by a happenstance. This isn't by a fluke or anything, right? This is what they want to do. Excuse me. And it's evident. Because they even said, we're not going to budge. We're not going to debate. Nancy Pelosi just comes up with this. She doesn't even confer with her own caucus. She just puts this stuff up, says, hey, yes or no, no debate, no nothing, right? And that's why a lot of people don't read what's going in these bills or nothing else, and they really don't know. It makes it harder for a lot of, even these, let's be fair, right? For a lot of these down ballot Democrats to go back to their constituents, right? Like Joe Manchin and I'll think of, etc. If you're in the middle of America, just pick your, right? Pick your senator or representative, and now it's harder for them to go back home and be like, yeah, we did a little bit, right? When there's already been like $1 trillion allocated for education, but they don't want to keep going to school, right? You have the LA Teachers Union saying, don't post pictures when you go on spring break vacation, right? Because 91% of teachers in LA voted to stay out of class, right? Because they want to extort more money from taxpayer government so that they can have a war chest, right? Because they don't want 2016 to ever happen again. They don't want the people to ever elect someone like Donald Trump, who was fighting for the people and not against the people, right? And if you don't believe me, then why are they still so obsessed with knocking him down, knocking his agenda down, and destroying what people think about him and everything else, right? That's what this whole censorship's about. That's what a lot of this stuff is really, truly about. It's not about Donald Trump per se. It's about what we all think and everything else, because they're kind of coveting that ideology, that obsessed, that they, right? They wish that they had that kind of stuff, right? But they don't realize that it's the effect, right? It's the cause and effect. Eh? If you keep messing up, if you keep doing stuff, people aren't gonna like that. But if you keep doing good stuff, people are gonna like that, right? If you keep putting cookies and treats in your kid's lunch, they're gonna start like, oh yeah, I like my mommy packs my lunch now when daddy does, right? Same thing. And they don't quite understand a lot of that, which is really, really weird, right? So, but just know, like, so Friday, Joe Biden signs the bill, the COVID relief bill. It's a war chest that because a lot of the money isn't even, it's allocated, but it's a lot of that bill that they have in there, it's not going to be spent. So 2022, 2024, and so on, right? Which is the midterms and the generals, right? So that's really what this is all about, right? And now we have an influx of illegals crossing the border, right, at a higher rate. They're trying to say, don't come now, come later, right? You're burning the spot. Hold up, people, hold up. Okay. They don't want to call it a crisis because now they've been challenged on it. They want to say that they're the adults in the room. They want to make sure they want to be perceived. It doesn't matter if that's what they are or what they aren't or whatever, right? But they want everybody to believe, right, and perceive them as the adults in the room, the mature. Oh, we know everything, right? But that's why whenever they say stuff, and if it's true or not, they can't ever admit or back down because they see that as weakness. That's why they always go after the opposition and make them bow down and apologize. That's what part of this cancel culture is all about, right? Bow down, cow down, right? Like I said, if you cower, you will be devoured, right? And so that's why you can't apologize, because these people don't sincerely want an apology. If you sincerely trespassed on these people and they sincerely want the apology, I could understand it, but they don't. They see it as like a scalp, and they keep moving on, like it's a war game to them. You know what I mean? And that's what this whole cancel culture. That's why you can't be like the Mumford and Son guy. You can't be, oh, I'm so silly and sorry, oh, like Roseanne and so on, right? Because now they just keep, oh, we got another one, and another one, right? So I will never bow down to the mob. I will never cow down to I'm not afraid of you. I'm not really afraid of anybody. I grew up with Satan, as I called my stepdad, right? So I mean, came out of hell, like I said. So I mean, really, show me your best, what you got, because I've seen a lot of it, been around a lot of it, and I'm not really impressed by a lot of what you guys think is, look what we're doing, we're resisting, and you're really not, though. It's all funded by the government. We all understand that. That's why we all laugh at you. You know what I mean? Oh, look at what we're doing here. No, you're LARPing. Pretty much. Okay? So, I mean, let's really get together. Let's really put our brains together. Let's unite and debate. I mean, we don't all have to agree and stuff. That's where the ideas all come from and flourish. We can see which ideas are good and which ideas are bad, right? But that's why they want to label stuff like this and stuff like that. Because now when we have this big old influx of illegals in the border, if you start saying stuff, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, you're a this, right? But it's not nothing like that, right? Because it's really not now. It's really a humanitarian crisis. We have they're saying about a million illegals will be crossing over this year, right? They don't know where to put these people, right? We're under lockdown on COVID, right? So the American people can't even travel abroad or anywhere in their own, really, without a mask, without being COVID tested, without almost a COVID passport. You got to have show me our papers before you can go anywhere, right? They're shutting down all the checkpoints on the border. They have Fort Pelosi. There's fences and like 6,000 guards or so at the DC because someone broke a window, smashed a door, and stole something. Stole a piece of paper and a laptop from Pelosi's office. Like, that's really the extent of it, right? People in Chicago see way worse than that every single day. People in Nancy Pelosi's district say way worse than that every day. They want us to feel, oh, boo-hoo, oh, show me, and they don't even live there. That's their workplace, right? And they're only there like maybe 2 or 3 days a week at the most, right? So, come on. We need to relocate Fort Pelosi to the border. There's a big, half a big old gaping, half a football, 40 yards or so, gaping, yo, right? Like a hot dog down a hallway, kind of like the Grand Canyon, gaping hole right at the border, right? Well, and then roads and everything. We pretty much built for the cartel. We're forcing the cartel right now, right? But ours are, we ain't forced. We can't go to work, right? We can't do none of that kind of stuff. But they sure can. They sure are, right? So who's really benefiting here? right? And oh, we got to ask the government if we can go to work, if our kids can go to school, blah 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 blah. But I mean, this is the same government, like I said, that said they were going to give us $2,000 checks. That they were going to come back and beat the coronavirus as soon as they got elected, right? That we were going to go to work and everything, right? That normalcy would happen, right? All of a sudden, the terror around the world that Donald Trump had caused all around the world would end, right? Peace on earth would become, right? And also, and none of that has come true. In fact, they keep circling back to justification and rationalizing why none of their stuff is working, right? So they took a lot of the stuff from Trump, right? The Remain in Mexico policy and but the Remain in Mexico policy, you're deported if you're a violent criminal and a sex offender, and you know what I mean. We got to really see if you're actually if the kid that you have with you is actually your kid, or if you just took him and they're saying that, right? Like you could just kidnap kids at Walmart right now and go across the state. I mean, that's kind of what they do in these other countries. I mean, you're moving a few countries apart. You don't think these people are sending them like that by themselves? I mean, that's treacherous. You would lose your child from CPS if you did that right now. If you just, you know what I mean? If your kid just, oh, I'm going to send him across the country, just boom, gone, right? But yeah, we're supposed to feel sorry for these. But yeah, Nancy Pelosi just took the word mom, dad, grandma, and everything else. You got the school in in New York, right? This Gray's prep school, taking the word mom and dad and everything else, and brother or sister, and they want you to say folk and people. Okay, cool. Now you're taking the sting out of your own propaganda punch there, lefties, right? So now when these people are coming across the border, and you want to say, oh, well, they're separating families and moms and daddies and stuff from the border. Well, okay, well, they're not, okay? So they're not even children anymore. Okay, because they're like 16 and 17. If you could be emancipated at 16 or 17, let's stop calling them children, okay? They're like 16, 17-year-old males who are coming here to work and take the American dream from Americans. I said it, okay? So, think about that, okay? But if they took away that, so they can't say, oh, they're separating families, they're separating mommy and daddy from each other and putting them in cages or anything, right? When they got Biden boxes, or they're at the Biden border crisis, right? That is exponentially. They're trying to find a NASA center in California, San Jose area, where they're going to stash these people because there's way too many. It's almost like the California overcrowding the prisons. People are sleeping on the floors and in gyms and outside in tents and everything else. It's just, right? Because they're overflowing. This is what happens when you have a problem. You're saying this, and then you can't even admit that there's a problem. That's what we're at right now, right? We got 6 women accusing Andrew Cuomo, right? But where's the first female Vice President, Kamala Harris, right? She was so adamantly going against anybody and everybody, right? Even when Donald Trump said in that Billy Bush tape, right, that you could grab them by the pussy, right? He didn't say that he did or he would, that he would or any of that. He just said you could, right? And they were like, oh my God, right? Chicken without a head, lose their minds, right? But now when you actually have 6 women accusing anybody on the left, right, all of a sudden they're silent as can be, right? Crickets. You don't even hear that, right? Don't even hear the wind blow, right? So it's like that's one thing that the right always has a problem with like this Me Too stuff. It's not this stuff like that. It's not that like with the COVID bill. It's not that we don't want to help anybody else. It's like the frivolous stuff that they add on top of it, and then only want to mention the good stuff and not the bad stuff, right? That's the problem, right? And then we have, so like you have like Assemblyman Ron Kim in New York was mentioning in a press interview how Andrew Cuomo had $10 million campaign funds from the hospital union, right? And that's why he gave them immunity when he shoved all these COVID people back into the nursing homes, right? From the March 25th order to the May, right? And then in April started doing that with the physically challenged people. Well, Gretchen Whitmer did some of the same thing, but instead of giving these people immunity or them paying them, she paid them to do all of that, financially incentivize them to take them back. So against their own will, no, because hey, it's almost like the COVID bill, pass it to give it to your relief, but we have to have all this other stuff inside of it, right? That's the nefariousness of it. She also paid her health secretary $150,000 or more to stay after severance phase. She's NDA agreement says that they can't release all that information, and she's like, oh, can't release it. Some of it's private, some of it's not, right? And that's how these people hide behind these kinds of shields of words and props and everything else to, okay, right? But we need to actually start standing up and fighting against that kind of propaganda tools that they use to get away with their bullshit, right? And so she could be facing some charges, right, for neglect and mismanagement of taxpayer funds, right? So you have, but in New Jersey did the same. I mean, there's other states that have done the same thing, and then they want to get on top of DeSantis for actually opening up and giving people their own life back, right? It's like the DMV, right? Fauci's like it's like we've been in this for a year. We're going down you're going down on a test, and you have the DMV guy in there with the check mark, right? That's Fauci telling us everything. Wear the mask, wash your hands, social distance, right? And we're driving, right? For a year, right? I mean, you only do that for like 2 or 3 blocks. Usually, then they get out, and then you get your license, and then you can move on, right? That's what Abbott and DeSantis and Kristi Noem in South Dakota have all done, right? They've given you the license to be responsible and to actually live your life, but actually to do the things. It's not that they want to dictate to you. That's what the left is, and that's what the right does, right? That's the difference, right? And so we need to actually start having our own life, our own responsibility, our own liberty and freedom to live our own lives. That's what America's about, folks. All right, and I hope you guys all have a good one and a good weekend. I love you and I believe in you. If no one else has told you, you are worth it. Don't kill yourself or don't think about it, right? Like Meghan Markle tried to say, or whatever, right? Life is worth living, life is precious, and so are you. I believe in you, right? Have another good day, and remember, fight like a bat out of hell, folks.